Everybody got their selfies. Good. All on Twitter, like, girl, guess where I'm at? Oh, I'm warming the crowd up, you know? Okay. So, Rabbi? No? No? Walk into a bar? No? Oh, okay. I guess I don't have a career in comedy. These are my managers to the left. Try to keep it clean.
Thank you. You're welcome. So we can get a little shifting now so we can breathe a bit. And we don't want people to hang on. We have to move the tape. There we go.
It's like a receiving table.
Yeah, let's adjust some of the names.
No.
That's me.
Remember being
Sat down. You okay?
All right.
somebody has that.
We ready to go?
Yep.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Y'all know y'all excited in the inside, so you can give me a little more energy. Give me a King's Records. Good afternoon. That's what I'm talking about. I feel warm now. My name is Christina Brown. I am with the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the final installment of the 2016 Local Legends Series, a Black History Month Trailblazer Series. I am the only thing keeping you from these amazing artists, so I will be very brief. We just want to welcome you. We will begin with remarks from Dr. Erica King Betts, who will talk about the past of the context of the event, followed by Councilmember Simpson, followed by Mrs. Althea Barnett, and then followed by your favorite local legends. Please give her a hand.
Of serving as the executive director of the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission, but this idea was started many years ago by Councilwoman Yvette Simpson, who has been honoring local legends, Black legends right here in Cincinnati for how many years? For 4 years. And I remember the first time I went up to the council chambers and I saw her presenting them with the honors, and I said, I want to learn more. Can we possibly partner with your office and do some lunch and learns with all of the honorees during Black History Month? And being Councilwoman Simpson, she said, of course. And so that's how the idea started. So it's our honor today to be here to listen to local legends that we have living amongst us. So I thank you for everything that you've done for just the world, not just Cincinnati, but for the world. So thank you for being here. I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you, Councilwoman Simpson, for the vision and for allowing us to partner with you. So I turn it over to you.
You're holding my hand back.
And I'm holding her purse because
I don't
it
think I'm
makes
gonna
me
get it back. Good afternoon, everyone. You know, this is like Christmas to me, this time of year, and the opportunity to do this. We began doing this my first time on council. I said, why don't we bring individuals who have made significant contributions to the fabric of our city, who are African American, into our chambers and honor them on behalf of the city of Cincinnati appropriately. Through resolution, which means it will be now and forevermore a record of the city proceedings. 100 years from now, people will be able to look back and see these resolutions. We want to honor people who have made these contributions right here in this building. I want to take a minute to acknowledge my colleague, Councilmember Wendell Young in the back. He does not deserve to be in the back. He is always standing back there, though, so we love him for being so supportive of the work that we do here. I'm so excited about this particular panel. I tell you, we've been doing this for 4 years, and every year we try to honor a group of people. And we did the Tuskegee Airmen, we did the Freedom Riders from Freedom Summer. This year was really special in part because of the fact that these individuals are from here, the legacy that they've provided is here and will be here, and we're working diligently to make sure that the legacy of King Records continues for generations to come. And so this year, this honor to me has been a bit special. Also, I'm a fangirl, so I'm really excited by the star power on this panel. I'll tell you, Denise Kinard came by my office, and I was in a meeting with one of my staff members, and she said, one of the Sisters of Righteous is outside. And I said, oh my God, and I ran out, and I was so excited. I'm like, you're in my office, you're in my office. Oh my goodness, you're in my office. So I'm a bit of a fangirl. So this is like really special to me. All these individuals who are here. Jimmy Railey called our office and said, this is Jimmy Railey, and we're so excited to have you here. It is really exciting. I'll tell you that this wasn't my idea. The person to thank and blame really is Phillip, who's sitting closest to me. 2 years ago, he approached me at a Beer Fest event, and for those who don't know Beer Fest, the proceeds from that event go to benefit the Big Joe Music Duskin Foundation, Big Joe Duskin Music Foundation, which brings music to inner city schools. And so I've been partnering with Beer Fest every year to kick off that event to encourage people to participate and remember that the proceeds go to a very big cause. And I met Phillip Paul there 2 years ago, and he pulled me aside and he said, you know, we've got some really important people from King Records around here, and you need to make sure you honor them before we're dead. And I said, boy, they all die. And I said, well, okay, let's do that. We're going to do that. And so I'm really excited, and I was pleasantly surprised by the number of our local legends who are still here in the Cincinnati area. And so we want to make sure that we honor them. And so I'm going to step away because we want to hear from you. I told folks we're bringing the funk into the chambers today. And so it's amazing. I'm just to see this star power here, and that this is Cincinnati, but this is also the nation and the world. And so thank you for representing us so well over the years. I know you all are all still active in doing things in the music industry, or teaching, or talking about the history, or educating. And so we just want to thank you all for your continued service to the city of Cincinnati. I don't know who I'm introducing. Althea, are you coming up? Okay, we got one more person before you hear from our legends. Thank you again for being here, all of you. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon. My name's Althea Barnett, and I am the Senior Program Manager at the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. I've been given the honor of telling you a little bit about King Records. Now, this is special to me because I grew up in Evanston on Trimble Avenue, so I said, yes. And I went to all the schools around there, and even though, I was around in the 50s too, but, but I didn't get to know all the things that I am sure I am going to learn today. But let me tell you just a little bit. On the back of your program that you have, there's the complete history of King Records, and I'm just going to give you a synopsis of that information. So King Records is an American record label started in 1943 by Sid Nathan, and it was originally headquartered in Evanston neighborhood of Cincinnati, Ohio. It now operates as a reissue label for its past materials. Originally, this is what happens when you get old. The glasses go on, the glasses go off. You're never really sure how to look at this. However, originally, King Records specialized in country music. It then expanded to rock, blues, R&B, and pop. The company also had a race records, African-American label, called Queen Records, which a couple of years later melded into the King label. Federal Records, which launched the singing career of James Brown, also melded into King's Records. Now, King's Records was unique among the independent labels because the entire production was done in-house. That included recording, mastering, printing, pressing, and shipping. Can you imagine that? All in one building. This gave Sid Nathan complete control so that a record could be recorded one day and shipped to radio stations the next day in quantities of 50. King Records was highly recognized and recorded R&B artists like Otis Williams and the Charms, Bootsy Collins, Phillip Paul, James Jimmy Rainey, and sisters Geneva Kinard Woode and Denise Kinard Crawley. The former King's Records headquarters at 1540 Brewster Avenue in Cincinnati is still standing. It has a historical marker placed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2008. So we are really excited today to have these wonderful people here with us. And at this time, we'll call Christina back and she will do the rest. Thank you.
All right, so my role is simple. My role is to let you all talk. So to begin, if we could start with Mr. Paul, if you could introduce yourself and tell us what is your story, and who's the man behind the bio?
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phillip Paul, and to begin with, I'd like to have that my nameplate corrected there. That's important, you know, when the royalties start coming, I want them to come to me. Not Phillip with 2 L's, 1 L. Before I get into any long dialogue, I just want to let you people know that my duty at King Records, I was a session drummer. Now, for those of you that don't know what that means that the president came to me one day, Sid Nathan, and wanted to ask me he told me, not asked me. He said, I want you to be the session drummer for the whole label. So I said, what is that? Because working with Sid, you had to get a clear definition of what he wanted you to do. Because, you know, like anyone else, he would pile up a lot of menial jobs for you. And I didn't want to do that. So he said, I want you to just play with all the King artists that are signed, the whole label. I want you to play with the jazz artists, R&B artists, blues artists, country artists. So I was young then, yeah, I was very young, so I accepted the challenge. I didn't know how I would do it. I didn't know what to expect. Because at King Records, I lived not too far from King Records, about 4 or 5 blocks, and they had a habit of waiting till the day of the session to call me at 7 o'clock in the morning. And at that time, I didn't have a car, you know. I just came down from New York, and I was just trying to get myself together. So someone from the label would call me and say, well, we have a session at 8:30. Can you get over here? It wasn't a question. It was they're telling me, get over here at 8:30. So that happened quite often, and that's the way my career began at King Records. There's a lot more to it, but I just want to let you know that what my duty was, and I did that for 14 years. I did over, I would say, close to 400 recordings for King Records. And I should be rich, right? Only in heritage. This is an art form. People in this business, unless you're extremely lucky, you never get rich. You just you do things like this because of the heart that you have, and you want to educate people, and that's what basically what we are, educators. And we're gonna start some dialogue here with my good friend Otis Williams. I've recorded almost 85% of all the recordings he did at King Records. And then we'll go down the line, and then we'll just argue amongst us. So
I'm a Cincinnatian, born and raised in Walnut Hills. Football player, baseball player, no music. And went to Withrow High School. And just happened to go into men's restroom and found 4 guys in there singing. And me, knowing me, I couldn't sing a lick. But I got in the group. They asked me if to sing with them on the Withrow Minstrels show, and I said, yeah, sure. Somebody heard us sing, recommended us to King Records. Okay, but when we got there, they didn't want the group. They just wanted me. Now, that's crazy, because these guys were singers. I was not a singer. I'm a football player. All-city football player, had a Cincinnati Reds baseball contract and a gold record all at the same time. So that my last thought was to sing. So I told him, I said, yeah, I'll sign the contract. You know, it was my junior year in high school. I just made All-American. I mean, all-city. In those days, they had 3 different newspapers here: Cincinnati Post, Times, and the Enquirer. Well, I made first string all the way through the first year. And so we went on and signed that contract. Never did sign the group, but I didn't care about that as long as they recorded when I recorded, because I'm going to Ohio State to play football. So I got into it a little bit, and I didn't understand the music business. I was only 17 years old, knew nothing about anything. Ask your kids, they'll tell you if they know everything. Yeah. Well, I didn't know anything. So when my mother and I talked, and she said, well, which one you really want to do? Well, I was groomed to play baseball. My mother played professional fast pitch softball till I was 5. Didn't stop to take care of me. My uncles, they played very, very good ball. They were fast pitch ball players. At 13, I played on their team, a men's team at 13 years old. So I was just talented. I was brought up to play ball. And my avenue to play ball was to go to college, play baseball and football. The scholarship was in football. So I said, well, which one? My mother said, which one you want to do? I said, that's where I want to do it. You know, Ohio State, come out, then go ahead and play baseball for the Reds. And she said, well, let's talk about it. So the family got together and we talked. They said, no, this is only 6 years after Jackie Robinson had come into the National League. So there was so much controversy over him being in there. They were scared that I couldn't handle it. And I told them I could handle it. You know, I thought I could. When 17 years old, you know everything. So they said no, and so I said, okay, I'll just go ahead and do the singing thing for 1 year. Recorded a year, nothing happened. Local hits. The second year, which was 54, recorded a song. Sid gave me a song. Sid Nathan is the CEO. And he said, take it home, arrange it, see what you can do with it. I said, okay. Took the thing home, arranged it, took it back, picked up the musicians, did the session, and the thing didn't do much the first 2 weeks when it came out. The third week, it jumped from, I think it was 40-something, up to number 2. Now, you got to remember, in those days, there was pop and there was colored music. So not R&B, because it wasn't there yet. So what they did, they pushed this thing to the pop audience, which blacks did not get played on the pop stations, only the R&B stations, which we'll say are R&B, the black stations. Well, they went to number 2 in the pop stations. Well, right away, everybody jumped on it. Now, throughout my career, 75% of our records sold pop. They didn't sell R&B like that. They played R&B. We went to number 1 in just about every market, R&B. But it was such a bad time, racially, and we had a hard time. But we had to get out there and do the work, and for pretty much nothing. Sid Nathan got all the money. I saw my first check. I guess I might have made $50 with Hearts Made of Stone. This record went all across the world, number 1. I didn't see but 2 checks. I might have gotten out of that thing maybe $300 from King Records. That's the business that we're in. But he was such a, Phillip knows. He found a way to beat you and take your money. That's all it is. He was a thief, big thief, big thief. But we had to protect ourselves. We couldn't smack him in the face and scream and holler at him because we were afraid we were going to get dropped by the label. Not realizing that it doesn't matter because we're the number 1 group in the world in 55 and 56. So we had more power than we knew we had. He wouldn't give me a gold record. He said, I'm going to get it for you. Don't worry about it. The second one came up, Ivory Tower. Going to give you one. Never did. And we kept that company alive from 54 through 56. We sold the records, the charms. So if you're looking at how this whole thing plays out, it plays out badly, but it was very important that I've always talked about it the way it is. And to tell the truth, you can ask me. I know the truth. I lived it. King Records is very important. The artists were very important. I love the fact that we did what we did. The people playing music today comes from King Records. That was, people don't realize when they say crossover was one thing. Black music being played on white stations. That's a crossover. But you ask people, they say, I know. They don't know. But now you know. That's the truth. I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy.
My name is Jimmy Railey. I lived right around the corner from Otis. His nickname was Rip because, like in football, he was so great that the media gave him the nickname Rip, the way he was ripping through lines and things like that. But when I was a kid, I lived a couple of blocks, maybe 5 or 6 blocks from King Recording Company. And as a kid, we rode stick horses around King's. And we happened to be riding stick horses over there one day, and let me say, by the way, that Kings is the bridge, but as far as racial discrimination was concerned. Because as a kid, when the artists would show up at Kings, me and my cousin Bobby, who also turned out to be one of the Flames, they asked us, you want to help us carry these instruments in? We said, yeah. So they were going to give us a few dollars. And we made it a point that we rode stick horses around there quite a bit because we could always make a few bucks carrying instruments and things like that in. And they got to seeing us over there so often till they said, well, you boys, if you're quiet, you can stand to the side and see what goes on in here. And so that's how I became acquainted with Kings. Now, Bud Hobgood was one of James's managers. And me and my cousin Bobby, we started singing a duet. And we had out some records. And Bud Hobgood heard us doing a show. And he came to us and he told us to come over to Kings, that he was affiliated with James. Well, Bud, he's a country guy. And you wouldn't think it to look at him. And when he left, me and Bobby said, oh, he probably ain't got nothing to do with James Brown, and we didn't go. And so he was introducing another one of his acts at another show, and he told us again, he said, I told you guys to come by. So me and Bobby went by, and he signed us up. He said he wanted to be our manager. And so at that time, we got another member, the kid that grew up with us, named Waddell Fallon. And we started doing, like Phillip said, we recorded backup for the different groups that came through there. And we were warming up down in the studio one day to do some stuff with Hank Ballard. And Hank Ballard's manager heard us doing our stuff. And so he said, he called us up and asked us how we were affiliated with Kings. And we told him. He said, well, I'll tell you what, if you guys can get to New York the coming weekend, he said, I can get you some soundtracks. So what we did was we went and we rented a car. And as soon as we got outside Cincinnati, we disconnected the speedometer and drove it to New York. He put us, it was Osman Kareem. He put us up at the Park Sheraton, and he had 4 soundtracks by Quincy Jones. He asked us, he said, now I could take you out and show you a good time, but I want you to stay in the hotel room and work on these 4 tracks. Well, we got 2 of them done, and so he's told us to come back to Cincinnati, and he said, I'll fly you back to Cincinnati. You just leave the car, and I'll drive it back when I come. And while we were in the recording sessions doing one of the songs, the car got towed in. And that's when he told us he'd bring the car back, he'd get it out and bring it back. And we told him, no, we can't do that. And we told him what the situation was. So he got the car out, and we came back to Cincinnati. Sid Nathan heard the 3 of us doing a recording session, of course with Phillip playing drums as always. And he said, those boys sound so much like the Impressions. He said, let's name them the Expressions. So Sid Nathan gave us the name the Expressions, which turned out to be a pretty good deal because it sold some records in overseas and everywhere else. And he died. I was talking about the manager that got us, Bud Hobgood. Bud died, and James came to us and said he wanted us to be the Flames. Bootsy remember that also. But James came to us and he said, I got the soundtrack I want you guys to do. And he gave us a soundtrack with the lyrics and everything. And we went back and we just couldn't make the lyrics work on it. And James was looking for us to come up with something for it. So we all took a copy of it home, and we said, let's all go home. Everybody get their version of it together. And when we get together tomorrow, we'll pick out the best one, and we'll take it to James. And so I was working at the Gibson Greeting Card Company at the time. And I was running a machine, and I'm thinking of this song all day long. And every time I would get something I could put in it, I would cut the machine off, go and write it down a little bit. Then I'd go back to running the machine again. And at the end of the day, I had, in 8 hours' time, I had my version of it completed. When we got together the next day, my version was the one that we chose, which was Stand Up and Be Counted. And the last song that was recorded by James Brown's famous Flames of Kings, I wrote it. And I'm not going to say anymore. I'm going to pass it. Oh, there was one other thing that I would like to say. One other thing that I would like to say is that I'm writing some music for my great-great-grandson. And Bootsy and myself are going to collaborate. He's going to do the music for it. And here's Bootsy Collins to tell you.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's a funny feeling being honored when all I've done really is stood on the backs of others, like the ones before me. These guys here, I mean, they were there before I was, and, it's just an honor to be in their presence. I know from the way y'all looking at it from the outside up here, but from my view, it's always the ones that didn't make it. The ones, my brother Catfish, Charles Sperling, Gene Red, all these cats that were over in King Records that were actually doing the footwork, and the musicians, the writers, they were the ones that made King what it was. And I mean, without that, we got nothing, and I think it's high time that we push the button to escalate this a little quicker as far as, getting recognition to the ones that are still here and the ones that have passed away as well. We need to, this is our history. I mean, our history to the world. It ain't just a local, I can sit up here and talk about me all day, but it ain't about me. It's about what has been done with these people here, along with the people that didn't make it this far. So we need to recognize, put a little more emphasis on it. This is our history. This is our town. Nobody cares, if we don't care, nobody cares about us, So we have to show that, that momentum first. My wife, she, started this foundation, and, since we was out on the road and all that, and, it's like she was going around to different schools and doing it. I was like, wait a minute, hold up. We got to start in Cincinnati. We got to start in our home, and it's the same thing with what I'm talking about with King. This is our history, and if we don't take advantage of it, it's going to be lost, and it's going to be our fault, So it's just like a child. If you don't take ownership of that child, the child is lost, So, it's a pleasure for me to be in the presence of these guys, these ladies. I mean, yeah. They remember me when I was a snotty-nosed kid, But I was running around there. I didn't know what I was doing. Mr. Paul slapped me upside the head, get it right. And all of that stuff helped me. It helped mold me into whatever I became, It wasn't the big stuff that did it for me. It was the little stuff, you know. Because at first, you know, being a kid, you know, it's hard to kind of get accepted from your older peers, you know. Like, you know, Mr. Paul and them, you know, they were older than I was. So I was just a kid, you know. And they treated me like that for a while. And then they saw that I was serious. So it's like, that's the way, I mean, you know, you have to prove yourself, you know. And the same thing going back to King Records. We have to prove ourselves about our ownership of our history. We have to prove ourselves to the rest of the world. You know, when I go out, I'm about Cincinnati. I don't even have to bring it up. Everybody already know. But that's the brand. You know, that's what I do. You know, what does Cincinnati do? We have to start owning our stuff. You know, I see these different things up, you know, pictures, and these guys should be up. You know, the artwork around in the communities, it should be these people. You know? I mean, somebody has to take ownership. You know, it ain't gonna just happen. You know, I mean, Motown, they did their thing. Stax did their thing. But, you know, what are we doing? What are we gonna do? You know? So that's what it's about. It ain't about me. It's about what are we going to do with this. This is ours. King Records. This is ours. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
And I'll just piggyback on what my husband just said. I don't know if all of you know, but King Records is now a historical site. Yay. We thank Mayor Cranley and Councilwoman Miss Yvette Simpson and Wendell Young and everybody that had a part in this, because King Records, it's our treasure. And now it's up to us to know how to move forward with it. As my husband was saying, this is critical right now that we take ownership. So I'm not going to speak long, but I just wanted to let you know how important King Records, the building, is to all of us here and beyond. And I want to say thank you to Liz and thank you to Miss Atkins for Evanston and pushing forward with the King Record Educational Building that is going to be sitting on the corner of Montgomery Road. So you've got the new King and you've got the old King, and imagine putting those together and what we can do for our youth to let them know where the music came from and where it's going. So we as Cincinnatians, we should be proud, but we also have to take charge and push forward, because we have work to do. Thank you.
We are happy to be here, Denise and myself, Geneva. And as we listen to our people right from the very beginning, I remember running in the studio and we would see them, and I was really shocked to hear that you were a Withrow alumni as well, and that's where we came from. I don't know if you can hear me because we're trying to share this mic, but we were both graduates of Withrow High School, and that education was so important to us. Is that good? Okay. James Brown and King's Records. It was really a pleasure for us to come in. Of course, when we first went in, we were exactly like you all were saying up there. You were called, sometimes you were called at 12 midnight and said, "Get over here, girls. James is in town. We want to get this done."
But we want you to realize that the first person to bring us to King Record Company was a man named Gene Red. And Gene Red discovered us in church. And we were singing in the choir, and Gene was the one that brought us to King. We had no name. We were not then the Sisters of Righteous or any name at all. But when we came to King Record Company, James liked us, and unfortunately, James took us from Gene, and he said he was going to give us a name. And at that time, I was a senior at Withrow High School. And Gigi was, I think that was your second year at the CCM, Conservatory of Music, where she was majoring in classical piano. And I am very proud of Gigi, my sister, because she was one of the first African-American women to be at CCM in that major. And I am very proud of her. And she accompanied people such as Kathleen Battle. I know you've all heard of Kathy Battle. She was also at CCM at the time. And there were a few actors that came out of not CCM, but the Conservatory of Music that they really were good first black people over there in those arts. And I'm really proud of her for that. So then when James took us over, he was the one that wanted to name us. And maybe Gigi remembers this, but since we were in school and my mother and father, they thought our education was the most important thing, James said, I want to name you the Sisters of Righteous. And we were all into, doing well in English and all that, so we asked James, do you want to make that the Righteous Sisters or the Sisters of Righteousness? And James said, no, I want you to be the Sisters of Righteous. So he was in charge, so we said, okay. So that's how we became the Sisters of Righteous. And our cousin was also a member of the group, and we cannot forget her, Roberta Dubois. And Roberta died in 2002 of bone cancer. And when I called James the day that she died, he could not believe it because he had just seen us and he had just been to Cincinnati. He had visited her parents in Silverton. We grew up in East End. I don't know if you know Eastern Avenue and Hoff Avenue, which runs off of Eastern. Okay, so when I called James and I told him that Roberta had died, he just started screaming. And he kept screaming, no, 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 no. And I said, yes, James, she died. And he just knew that she was going to get better and she was going to be okay, but she didn't get better. And so he sent his manager at that time to Roberta's funeral. And at that time it was RJ. And RJ came and James insisted on paying for Roberta's funeral, which he did. And so anyway, that's a little bit of our background, but we, as Gigi was saying, we sang on just about any and everything that came through King Record Company. It didn't matter whether it was country, whether it was soul, whatever.
We just did it. We wanted to do it, so we figured that was our chance. That's what we did.
And James loved the fact that Gigi really played piano real well, and he would send dubs home with us, and he would ask Gigi to, write background to this song, write background to that song. We did background for Hank Ballard, and we did I don't know if you all remember, because they should be playing it this month a lot on Black History Month, but I haven't heard it yet on the radio. Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. But we were in that background when we made Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And Gigi and I will never forget, because everybody in the studio was in there doing Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And James didn't think it was, forceful enough, loud enough. So you know what happened? They went out on Brewster Avenue. If you went to the movie and you saw those kids there in the studio when that song was being made, went out on Brewster Avenue, brought all those kids in, and the kids just loved saying, I'm black and I'm proud. And they probably know who they are now. So anyway, if there's anything else you want to add, Gigi?
Oh, nothing other than I feel like at this point in my life, there's always things
concentrate on what you could get and what you did have. I can remember at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she'll tell you, we may not have had heat on in our house sometime, but I'd be in this one room at 2 o'clock in the morning playing on the piano. And my mother would have to come down and say, Gigi, it's 2 o'clock. You got to go to school in the morning. It's 2 o'clock. I said, I know, but I just got this one more thing. It's one more thing I want to do. So actually I knew at 3 years old, that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do music. I had no idea which direction it was going to go, but that's really basically what I wanted to do. And at this present time, I am the assistant minister of music at Quinn Chapel, AME, African American Episcopalian. And guess who had the honors of hiring me? My students, who I had at SCPA when I was there. And when he called me, he says, do you mind, could you play for Quinn? I know I'm the minister of music there, but it would be such an honor for you to play with me. And I said, oh, wow. I said, you have gone that far? Well, yes, I'll do it. Thank you very much. So we're still doing that same thing today. And I'm getting ready to have a recital in March with kids that I have dealt with. And I feel like, if we don't share, and you know this, if we don't share, where else are they going to see that it is a possibility, I feel? Because even now in the public schools, you see all these kids that really like music, but they have no way of taking lessons. And we all know, if you don't do something to prepare yourself now, you can't just pull things out of the air. I mean, what is that show on TV now? The Voice, all this. Those are just one in a zillion people that are doing it. It's not going to happen to the number of kids that are in our cities that do have that ability. So I kind of want to share myself in that respect. And I know you're at the end of the schedule here, but I can't help but point this out. I know there are a lot of thoughts about how James Brown was a mean and bad and evil person and hard to get along with, but I do want to point this out because when he was with us, he made sure. That was the same year that my mother died, when I was a senior in high school. And James came out to our house in East End on Hoff Avenue. And he met my dad and my mom. He promised my dad he was going to take care of us at the studio. And he sent a wreath to my mom's funeral. He had it sent, and it was as big as the presidential, wreath that you see on TV. And so he was such a caring man with us, and that's the side of him that we saw, and he made sure that he took care of us and didn't let anybody come near us when we got to the studio. He'd say, these are my girls. We were 17, 19, and I guess he knew what the studio work was like. But we went home, we did homework, we went to school the next day. So we thank you very much, and Councilwoman Simpson, I really appreciate her really observing all of this because it is important.
All right, we have to get this esteemed group upstairs so they can receive the resolution, but Mr. Paul asked for the last word, and since I spelled his name with 2 L's, that's the least I can do. So please send us home.
Well, it seems like we have a united front here among all remaining King artists, and we should continue with this group and move forward. I vote for that.
Is there a second? The motion has been properly seconded and moved. Please give our esteemed panel a round of applause. This will officially wrap up the end of our Black History Month series. We invite you to join us immediately upstairs where they will be written properly into the city of Cincinnati's history. Thank you all for taking time out to be with us. And can I say it loud? Say it loud. I'm going to get in trouble for that later, but thank you all.